What if I told you that scrubbing, like yesterday's dried, crusty oatmeal out of a cereal bowl, is actually a more advanced spiritual practice than reading ancient philosophy on some misty mountaintop?
I mean, it sounds like a joke, right? Or maybe just a really desperate attempt to make chores sound appealing.
Right. It sounds like toxic positivity.
Yeah, but it is actually the foundational argument of this profoundly grounded spiritual philosophy. Because we have this deep-seated assumption that to find real peace, we need to, escape.
Yeah, we think we need the silent monastery, the perfect incense, the singing bowl.
Exactly. We think it requires a completely different environment.
But then you look around your actual life.
Yeah.
You see the pile of unwashed laundry, the unread emails, the fact that you still need to figure out what's for dinner, and suddenly that misty mountaintop feels impossibly out of reach.
Right, which leaves so many of us feeling like true mindfulness is just a luxury product. Like it's only for people with the time and money to just retreat from the world.
It's an incredibly heavy burden.
Right.
It creates this massive disconnect between our messy daily reality and our actual desire for inner calm.
It really does. And it's completely unnecessary.
And that is exactly why I am so excited about today's deep dive. We are jumping into a really powerful antidote for anyone feeling, overwhelmed by the pressure to perform their spirituality.
Yes. Today's source material is a transcribed Dharma talk. So essentially a public teaching on Buddhist philosophy and practice coming from Bogapsa Temple.
And our mission for this deep dive is unpacking a radically practical, down-to-earth teaching where the ultimate spiritual goal isn't achieved in some grand monastery. It's achieved right in your own living room.
Okay, let's unpack this because the core concept here totally flips the script.
It really does. The speaker argues that the most sacred temple is one's own home. But, before we even talk about what that practice looks like, we have to establish the where.
Right, the location.
Yeah. And the source grounds this in a deeply human, incredibly relatable story about a laywoman from Daegu. Oh, yes, the anecdote from 14 years ago. The speaker mentions this woman who came in for counseling, and she was entirely distressed, like literally choked up and weeping.
And the reason is so culturally heavy. Her eldest son had 4 daughters and no sons.
Right, which to understand the gravity of that, you really have to look at the traditional family structures.
Exactly. There is this immense, crushing weight placed on the eldest son, and by extension his wife and mother, to produce a male heir. She wasn't just sad, she was carrying the trauma of an entire family line.
She was desperate. And if you are listening to this, think about what usually happens when someone is desperate and goes to a spiritual leader. You might expect a prescription for some elaborate, really expensive ritual to change her luck, right?
Yeah, some big ceremony to appease the heavens. But the advice from Bogapsa was entirely different. The speaker simply told her to build a seed of faith.
Just by going home and praying diligently. At home. The source has this incredible quote, "My house's Dharma hall is the most sacred."
I love that line because it completely reframes the power dynamic of spirituality. The speaker explains that when you are in your own home, there's no need to walk on eggshells around other congregants.
Right, there's no noise, no social performance you have to maintain.
Exactly. It is a quiet, intimate environment where you can actually strip away the ego and just focus on polishing your own soul.
I was trying to visualize this, and it made me think of the home like a personal dojo. Instead of commuting to a fancy gym to build physical muscle, this is about building spiritual muscle in your pajamas.
That is a great analogy. But the why here is really crucial. Because the Bogapsa speaker isn't claiming that the seed of faith is some magical wish-granting mechanism for hospital director sons-in-law.
Right, it's not a magic vending machine.
No, it's about the long-term compounding effect. It's about maintaining a consistent, hopeful mindset within the family unit over years. By removing that thick, suffocating anxiety of needing a son and creating a joyful home, she rewired her family's nervous system.
And the payoff in the story is amazing. Years go by, the 4 daughters grow up wonderfully. 2 of them end up marrying hospital directors.
Yeah, the speaker from Bogapsa even talks about going to the wedding in Seoul and just being moved to tears of joy.
Because those daughters succeeded, not from a magic spell, but because they grew up secure, that mother maintained her home temple. So if the home is the temple, what actually constitutes praying in that space?
Well, according to the source, it's not just chanting, it's actually your daily chores.
Okay, wait. So you're telling me that washing the dishes with a good attitude is more spiritually advanced than mastering ancient philosophical texts?
I know it sounds wild, but yes, it's the concept of practical virtue. The source says that keeping the house clean, cooking meals with the right seasoning, serving food on time doing that is actual asceticism. It's called do.
But, I mean, if I'm commuting home after a 10-hour day and I have to fold mountain laundry, calling it asceticism feels like gaslighting myself.
And the text warns against that exactly. They warn against making the way seem too grand. It simply means accepting your given duties with a joyful heart without complaints. The suffering isn't the laundry itself.
Oh, the suffering is my internal monologue saying, I shouldn't have to do this.
Precisely. What's fascinating here is how the speaker critiques the opposite approach. They really go after people who recite complex sutras like form is emptiness, emptiness is form, without actually understanding them.
People love quoting that to sound deep.
They do. But the source uses this brilliant, simple analogy for it instead. They say, look at a teacup. A cup is just dirt and glaze put together by a person. That's it.
That is so practical, it's temporary, it goes back to dirt. You don't need a PhD to get that.
Right. And they use this tree metaphor. People get obsessed with the complex branches, the high-level doctrines, but their roots are weak.
Because they ignore their daily humble actions.
Yeah.
So when the wind blows, they just fall over.
Exactly. Doing your chores with a clear mind is what builds those deep roots.
But human nature hates that. We want a shortcut. We want to swipe a credit card and buy inner peace. Which brings us to the warning in the source. Since true merit is built at home, we have to watch out for people selling shortcuts.
Oh, absolutely. The text draws a very sharp distinction between true monks and fake monks, or charlatans. They use the term didangjum for the fakes.
Right. A true monk lives by the Buddha's precepts and actually worries about their congregation.
While the fake monks just show off. They do elaborate chanting, they play fortune teller, or they use fear to extract money. The source even notes some just sit around playing games on their phones and gambling.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The text shares this compelling story about an older single woman and a very frugal man she married.
Oh, the woman obsessed with shamans.
Yes, she was so addicted to these rituals that she literally tried to extort money from her own husband. She'd claim a ritual cost 3 million won when it only cost 1 million, and she'd pocket the rest.
It is the ultimate illusion of external merit. She was completely destroying her actual life to buy a fake blessing.
The irony is just staggering. Seeking blessings through deceit. The Bogopsa speaker actually intervened and cut that toxic tie for the husband.
Because merit cannot be bought. I mean, think about it. If you're listening right now, how often does society try to get you to outsource your inner peace?
Oh, constantly. Expensive retreats, wellness gurus, magic bullet solutions.
Exactly. But the true work is internal, and it's free. The source teaches that you shouldn't chase empty vanity titles that drain your wallet, because those same people will complain their legs hurt when asked to do real, humble spiritual work, like sweeping a floor.
We want the aesthetic of enlightenment, but not the actual work. So if you strip away the fakes and focus on our homes, there is one final hurdle, our own internal attitude.
Yeah. The expectations we silently hold against others. There is a powerful quote from the source. Even without speaking, the sound of the mind is heard.
That is so heavy. People can actually sense your internal state, whether it's toxic or joyful, even if you don't say a word.
They really can. To illustrate this, the speaker talks about the Mujinhang Bodhisattva in Ulsan.
Oh, the one who preaches simply by saying, come and see.
Yes. She just lets her peaceful reality speak for itself. She doesn't need to lecture anyone.
Contrast that with family dynamics, where spouses ruin the merit the other one builds. The source says you must not be the hell to their good deeds.
Right. If your partner is trying to build that greenhouse and you are just a silent hum of resentment, you ruin the whole thing.
And this leads into a truly striking perspective on parenting. The source says that expecting financial payback or demanding things from your kids just because you raised them is lower than an animal.
Which sounds harsh, but the logic is undeniable. Animals feed their young until they can hunt, and they never demand a return on investment.
It is so countercultural. We often treat kids like a retirement plan, but holding that expectation just manufactures suffering.
It does. And that brings up the source's advice on finances. Spending beyond your means, like spending $100,000 when you only make $10,000, is the literal root of suffering.
Just keeping up appearances creates a spiritual deficit.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, all of these points are about radical personal accountability. Your finances, your parenting, your internal thoughts, it's all on you. We cannot control our ultimate fate or when we die, but we can completely control our joy today.
It all comes together so perfectly. We moved from seeing the living room as a temple to realizing dishwashing is asceticism. We learn to avoid spiritual charlatans, and finally, to take absolute accountability for the sound of our own minds. So what does this all mean?
It means the work is right in front of you, but it also leaves us with a lingering question. If the sound of your mind is constantly broadcasting to your family and coworkers, even when you aren't speaking, what song are you playing for them right now?
Wow. Is it a chaotic noise of complaints or the quiet rhythm of someone who has found their temple exactly where they are? That is an amazing thought to leave on. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
Take care, everyone, and enjoy your home temple today.